everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. You can hear the music, if the levels sound correct. Testing, testing, 1, 2. I'm just going to turn myself up then. Oh man, I'm going to be bumping this tripod way too much. All right. How long have we been going? 4 minutes. All right, I'm going to give a few more minutes for people to show up. Thank you, Snickle. I'm really happy with this album. I'm sure everyone's going to be able to hear the dogs and the people outside, but that's just being in a home studio. No more music. I can put it back on, why not? Hopefully that's low enough that you can hear me, but also hear the music. Oh. Track with strings on it that isn't in the Fever Dreams video. That might just be one of my earlier ambient tracks. I'd have to go back and look at the project and see what I put in there, because I put in a lot of stuff, not just the lo-fi. I'd have to check. The audio stream's current bitrate 0 is lower than the recommended bitrate. Recommended use an audio stream bitrate of 128. What does that mean? What are you telling me, YouTube? I'm using a bitrate of 2500. What are you talking about? I swear. YouTube gets dumber every day. And now it's healthy again. Okay, whatever. Like, seriously, whatever. Alright, 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Who's in here? Sup Mob, sup Kayla, sup Slime Beast, sup Prass, sup Sade, sup Snickle. Good to see you all. Fair warning. I bit the back of my tongue in my sleep, so that's very annoying, and I feel like I'm slurring my words. Not because I've been drinking. It's too early for that. Don't swear, you'll be demonetized. Like I care. Like I'll ever be monetized again. I was back in the day and I made 28 cents. And then I never collected on it because it would cost me more to collect on it than to actually just let YouTube keep it. Stupid. Thank you, Kayla. How did you bite the back of your tongue? Did you sleep with it sticking out? Dude, I don't know. I don't know, Beth. Hi, Emily. Hi, Sakura. And hi, Beth. Oh, hey, hey, raccoons. Yeah, I've missed doing them. I've missed doing the live streams. Alright, what time is it now? It's 12:09. Oh, we got 1 minute. Oh, and now it's 12:10. Okay, cool. So we're just gonna take that down. Okay. Hey, Sleepy Coffee. So you'll notice the stream has just a static image with some text on it now, and there is a reason for that that I need to go into, and I want to do it at the beginning of the stream so when people listen back, and they can get the explanation, and I don't have to, you know, I'm not going to repeat it too many times during the stream if new people show up. So a little bit of history for those of you that don't know. I think pretty much everyone listening does. But I started these streams way back in March or April or something when the pandemic lockdown first started. And I wanted to do it to hang out with people, you know, do something, do some critiquing, have some fun, all that sort of stuff, and do it in an environment where we could all kind of like simultaneously do this critique together and also just hang out. It was fun. And then a No Sleep author caught, you know, basically caught wind of it, or just, you know, they found the live stream and they got very incensed about it. And then posted about it on No Sleep OOC, which is the out of character sister subreddit to No Sleep. And a lot of people got very, very, very angry at me, at what I was doing with these streams, and just, you know, just weren't happy about it in general. I stayed out of that thread. I did kind of answer some comments on my videos. There was a lot of criticism, a fair amount of vitriol, some personal attacks, which at the end of the day I just kind of found amusing after a while. But I honestly, I think a lot of those personal attacks were them trying to prove a point to me that no one likes being insulted or talked bad about. And I feel that they really misunderstood the fact that I wasn't saying any author was bad. I was just saying I didn't like a story. Never mind the fact that there are stories I've read on stream that I do like. So, you know, of course, they only found the ones where I didn't like something. And on No Sleep, because it's a community that doesn't really allow for criticism very often, you know, the fact that someone doesn't like something on the subreddit, you know, it just sends people off the deep end, which fine, okay, whatever. Like that's their thing to deal with. So I've made my fair use defense. Um, and I'm not gonna make it, you know, any more times unless someone wants to actually DMCA one of these videos, and then I'll make that defense. It's up to them. But one thing that I saw said, which I do think has a bit of merit, is that the streams were me putting up the story on the screen and scrolling through it and showing it in its entirety. The point of that, of course, wasn't to steal or anything like that or to pretend it's mine. It was to put up on screen what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it, to share it with everybody. But I do kind of understand that, and I don't think I'm driving much traffic away from anything that I've read. I have a very, very small viewer count, but I don't, you know, I would rather that anyone listening along, if they do want to read along, they go to the story, they go to the webpage, they actually get their own eyes on it. That's where the traffic goes. I understand that complaint. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the place where I'm finding the story, which, as you can see, is from r/creepypasta, the author, who is Maytad, and the title, so everybody can read along on their own device if you want to, or you can just listen to me say it, which I think is kind of a fair compromise. In it, I think it will just make it a bit easier overall anyway, so I don't have to worry about what's on screen so much, because I'm seeing it and you guys aren't. But yeah, so occasionally you will see the text change. It'll just be to let you know, hey, go here to find the story if you want to. That's it. And I stopped doing the streams for a while because, I mean, you all know everything kind of went shit for most of last year, and I had a lot going on. In a better place now, thankfully. So I would like to resume doing these, maybe not exactly weekly, depending on what my workload is like, but just, you know, on a semi-regular basis, because I really do enjoy these. As usual, my voice gets tired easily, so I will do this for as long as I can, but I'm going to be drinking a lot of water and all that jazz, so bear with me. How many people do we have now? We got 14. It's pretty damn good for me. And yeah, okay, cool. Let's get into this. So we're on r/creepypasta. This is a story with 361 upvotes, fair amount of awards, which is pretty high for this subreddit. Stories unfortunately get buried a lot by memes, by artwork, by narration videos, and the like. A lot of spam. But I think, you know, that is a accomplishment in and of its own. This is by Maytad. It's called Knock Knock, Hi John, It's Me, Open the Door. So if you all want to read along, that's where you're going to start. Knock knock, hi John, it's me, open the door. But your name isn't John, and no one living in your home shares that name. You hesitate and wonder who could be standing outside your door. Huh, so this is kind of a rarity. This is a second person narrative. This is happening to you, the reader, which, I mean, it's not unheard of. The Holder series is all, you do this, you do that. But this doesn't appear to be part of the Holder series, so this is a kind of a rarity, at least to me and what I read, and it's difficult. It's a lot of times creepypasta likes to be called, you know, internet campfire stories, and this is very much a campfire story setup. I'm telling a story. This is what you were doing. Oh my God, you see that? A skeleton pops out. It's not easy to do, so I think we need to keep that in mind when we are critiquing this one. And I do tend to give leniency on these because it's difficult to try. So let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Curiosity fills your mind and you look through the peephole. To your surprise, there is no one at the door. Who could have said this then? Curiosity and surprise suddenly turns to a trickle of fear burning down your throat. Burning down your throat. A trickle of fear burning down your throat. Is that a common fear response? It's very descriptive, but like chills down your spine, sinking feeling in your stomach, hairs raising on the back of your head. Those are all fear responses. A trickle of fear burning down your throat. That's interesting. Maybe that is common. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, that's kind of weird. Your mind begins racing, and you step away from the door and begin to head back towards what you were doing before the disturbance. 5 feet from the door, you hear it again. Knock, knock. John, it's me. Just open the door. Your heart begins to beat faster, your adrenaline pumps, and the hair on your neck begins to rise, and there we go, as a shiver travels down your spine. So we have 3 fear responses. Knock, knock, knock. The voice bellows. I know you're in there. Let me in, little pig. It doesn't say little pig. Knock, knock. Something inside tells you to stay away from that door. You walk into your room and shut the door. You realize you aren't home alone as your significant other is currently in the bathroom next to your room taking a shower. You murder her a la Psycho. Because of this, your anxiety calms slightly. Might as well watch some TV as you flicker through the channels. Something catches your eye. Okay, this is a pitfall of the second person. No one likes being told what to do, and I see some comments really already kind of honing in on that. It's hard to, number one, it's off-putting to be told what to do. Well, you do this. Well, you don't know me. In a situation, I might do something else. I might open the door and look around, because I hear lots of strange knocks on my door all the time. Usually it's just someone banging upstairs. I do like the part about, well, there's someone else in your house with you, so you're calmed a little bit. I think that's a human response. But it's difficult to do this and to not irk your reader a bit, because if you're just going to play out every action anyway, then why are you bothering to say this is happening to the reader? Just make it happen to a character. Or do it from first person. I did this. I did that. Okay, let's see. So we're sitting down and we're watching TV, as usual. Mysterious disappearances across the nation. Stay home. Lock your doors. Rolls across the bottom of the screen. As the news anchor states, little is known about the disappearances that have started happening over the past few hours. If you believe your family or friends are missing, please call your local police station to give them their names and any background info that may help determine what is happening. As of now, the count of missing persons has risen to the 3.5 million mark in less than 2 hours. Your mind races as you begin to trace the dots between this and whatever happened at your front door. Okay, 3.5 million. That's the size of a large city. Not saying that this is a bad premise, but it's a very extreme one. That's a lot. And to happen within less than 2 hours, that's apocalyptic. And when the scope of something is apocalyptic, it tends to lose its efficacy as far as being in a horror setting. Excuse me. Especially when you're trying to make it personal. There's someone at your door. And but also 3.5 million people are gone. Like, which one am I supposed to be focusing on? Did we need this kind of tie-in of and on the news also, this horrible apocalypse is happening. I feel like someone stalking you at your door is perfectly horror enough, or like it's good enough for a setup. This is a little, it's kind of blowing your load, I think. Sorry, I'm reading the comments. Paralegal abysme, bleeding through with the court Freudian slip. Yeah, no, it's a problem. I think the latency on these comments is really, really long, and I set it to low, and I don't know why. Maybe I can change it. Nope. No, I cannot. That's a bitch. Well, okay. I'll know that for next time. I swear I put it for really low. Okay. Let's see. Ring ring. Your phone lights up to reveal your mom is calling you. Oh my god, mom was phone. Hi honey, I just wanted to call you and ask if you wanted to come over for dinner. Mom, have you been watching the news at all? Something's going on. People are going missing. No, I haven't had a chance to watch anything today. I'm sure it's nothing. They're probably just out and about. It's no worry. Anyways, if you're hungry, I'm making knock knock. What's knock knock? Is that is that from Finland? You hear the same knock as before, but this time through the speaker of your phone, followed by, "Hi John, it's me. Open the door." Your mom stops talking as she's interrupted. "Oh, it looks like someone's at the door. Just 1 second, honey." Mom is this is that meme from Terminator 2. Your parent, your step parents are dead, or your foster parents are dead. Before you can even get a word out to warn her, you hear her put the phone down. You begin to panic. You cry out as loud as you can for her to stop and don't answer the door, to no avail. Footsteps recede from the phone, followed by the sound of the door unlocking and opening. This is a lot of just telling, minute changes in action. And I get that, again, it's like someone, this would be better if I was telling this to someone in the room or like at a campfire. It doesn't translate well over the internet, I feel. A soul-tearing shriek comes from the phone, followed by an unclaimed silence. Followed by an unclaimed silence. A soul-tearing shriek comes from the phone, followed by an unclaimed silence. I understand what the author is writing here or trying to go for. I think that word choice is confusing. Like it's not very. I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. An unclaimed silence. Well, if you claim a silence, how do you claim a silence? Number one, you said it was me not saying anything. Again, I get what they mean. Like, it's silence essentially. You might as well just say silence. This and some other phrases are kind of just very, very strange. Like, it's purple prose that itself has kind of been improperly executed. Your heart stops as you know who it belongs to. Dread, fear, and a cloud of darkness begin to swirl around you. A few moments pass as you sit, motionless, and you hear something pick up the phone. A sinister whisper comes through the phone. "John, it's me. Open the door, please." I don't know if you guys could hear that. Your eyes bolt open as you realize it's the same voice from before. Words try and form in your mouth. It's like it should be try to form in your mouth, but nothing comes out. Knock, knock. The sound pierces your heart as you realize where it came from this time. Your bedroom door. "John, it's me. Open up." Okay. So this is now passed into a kind of supernatural thing, and I guess it already may have when we learned that 3.5 million people were missing. You know, that can't happen over 2 hours and not be supernatural. But that this sinister antagonist can appear anywhere at any time, abandons any sort of constraint or rules, and again, you are making this too exaggerated to be scary anymore, at least in my opinion. Let's see what people are thinking. Oh god, I am door. We have a lost and found for silences. Oh, Alan's here. What's up, Alan? Take off that door's mask. To claim a silence, you have to show 2 forms of ID and proof of address. Raccoon says, part of me wants to assume that this is a typo of some sort, but I can't figure out what unclaimed is supposed to be. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get across. What is unclaimed supposed to be? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Wait, so you can hear her opening the door, but she can't hear you screaming? I don't know. So this is apparently a part 1. There is a part 2 in front of me. It has 81 comments. That's really good. That's a good, and it's 99% upvoted. This has got really good reviews on creepypasta subreddit. I don't usually do 2-parters. This was kind of short though, so I'm gonna go ahead and just continue it. See if it's long. It's not. It's about the same, and it looks like I don't know if there's going to be a part 3. Let's just do this, whatever. Okay. Your body suddenly becomes numb with fear. You look at the door and you can see the light coming from underneath, but you cannot see anyone standing there. Who is there? I don't know any John. I've never known a person named John in my life. Please leave me alone. Your call out goes unanswered for some time. Your call out goes unanswered. Again, I know what you mean, but that needs to be rephrased. That's just clunky. Unanswered for some time until you hear it again. Knock, knock. John, it's okay. Just let me in. These vampires, because you have to allow them in. But then how did they get inside how did they get inside the bedroom door? The bedroom, that is. I said I don't know anyone named John. How did you get into my house? What did you do to my mom? Your mother is fine. She's with me. I'm your new dad. In a safe place. I can take you there. You just have to open the door and let me in. You don't reply in hopes whatever it is will go away. You're wrong. This is antagonistic to the reader. No, you stupid idiot. You're wrong. Knock, knock. I know someone else is home. If you will not let me in, maybe they will. But I thought they were... Okay, maybe... whatever. Adrenaline hits your body like a tidal wave as you realize your significant other is still in the shower and they have no idea what is going on. Your feet suddenly regain some feeling as you run to the wall that separates you from them. You start pounding on it and yell out in desperation, Babe! Babe! Babe, whatever you do, don't open the door. Wait, can you not... okay. I'm confused. Which door and which wall are the three parties here apart from? I think I know what the author means, but it's now getting a little bit convoluted as to, like, if you open any door, John's gonna come in. I feel like that could be a bit better explained, even probably with, like, less buildup. Whatever. Once again, you feel the dread coming from whatever is on the other side of that door. What can you possibly do here? Your eyes begin to wander around the room and look around for something to arm yourself with. Regrettably, you find nothing to help you except for your phone that is still connected with your mom's. Mom's needs an apostrophe. And you remember what the news told you to do. Which is, call the police. You know what? I feel like this would be better if this was a choose your own adventure. Like, this is a better script for a indie horror game than it is for a creepypasta, in my opinion. Because then you could have branching paths, you could have different options, which is a lot better than you, I don't know, you're wrong because you hung up on your mom. Because fuck you. That says, Babe, honey, my beloved, my significant individual. People have pet names for their significant others, of course. I am Paprika. Hate the word babe. I don't know why. Both of us just don't like it. We don't use it. Not saying other people can, of course, but like whenever I see that, it's just like, oh man, I would hate being called that. Babe, pick up. Okay. Thank you for calling the county sheriff's department. Press 1 to speak to an authorized representative. That is, as someone who has called the civil division of the sheriff's department many a time for my job, that is not what the script is. And you know what? That's a nitpick. It's a nitpick to say that they don't know the exact, message system. But at the same time, like, a deputy will be with you. An authorized representative just even sounds a bit, like you're calling AT&T, for example. Press 1, but it's in asterisk, so you press 1. A calming voice states, Hello, this is Deputy Myers. How can I assist you today? Which is also not how the deputies talk. Hello, I need help. There is someone in my house. I think they took my mom too. They keep asking for someone named John and to let them in. You look back at the door. Knock, knock. Please send help. They're still right outside my door. Okay. Give me your address and I will send a deputy to you as soon as possible. That is not how that works. There is not enough policemen. Response times are way too low. And okay, I know that sounds like a nitpick, but I see this a lot. I see this in a lot of horror stories of I called the police and You know, they showed up later, like, no, dude, like, I think it's common knowledge at this point amongst everybody that police response is slow. It's not reliable, and the most you can do is like they'll say, "Okay, we'll send someone as soon as we can," and you know that's going to be 3 hours. And check the chat again real quick. Emily says, "Whenever I hear Babe, I think of the movie about the pig that wanted to be a wolf or something, and or some dude bro going to cha Babe." It's going to be Deputy John on the other end of the phone. I'd be okay with that. Para continuar en español. Yeah, Prass is right. There is always a the Espanol alternative. Raccoon says, if you are going to write someone calling 911, you should call 911 so you know what it sounds like. Yes, but you would also need to actually have a legitimate reason, because if you fuck with 911, I think that's actually a felony. You can't say I'm calling you for research purposes. Can you imagine? Hello, 911. Yes, I'm trying to write a horror story. Just, act like this is real. All right. Okay, give me your address and I will send a deputy to you as soon as possible. Please be advised we have been receiving a lot of reports that are very similar to yours, so it may be some time before the deputy arrives. Okay, yeah, see, there we go. And this is my constant problem of making up my mind before I've read the entire paragraph. Okay, so the author is aware of that. I'm glad. It's still a valid point, but yeah, that's fine. From what we have gathered, whatever is in your house is connected to the disappearances. Follow my instructions. Do not deviate from them until the deputy arrives. Under no circumstances open your door for them. From the reports we have gathered, it can be assumed what they need you to. It can be assumed that they need you to open the door. They cannot open it themselves for whatever reason. We don't know why. Once you open the door for them, that is when they take you. That's a big dump of rules and explanation, and I'm not super happy about that because I feel like we kind of could have just come to that conclusion on our own. For all the little flaws I've found in the story so far, it was doing an okay job of just not really over explaining anything. And now we have a police officer going, here's the mechanisms of the story, which feels, again, underwhelming. You sit in silence for a moment, trying to fit this information into your mind in hopes of understanding why and how this is happening. Reality then hits, as you notice the water stopped running in the shower and your significant other, Babe, is still in the bathroom. The phone call with the deputy becomes the last thing on your mind as you begin to fear for their life, as they don't know anything about what is happening. Hello, are you there? I still need your address, the deputy cries out. Before you can even think, you faintly hear it again outside your door and down the hall. Knock, knock. Hi, John, it's me. Open the door. The phone falls out of your hand as you run back to the wall and try once again to get their attention before you're too late. Babe! Every time. Do not open the door. Stay in there. Wait for me to come get you. Just do not open it. What's going on? Relief fills your body from hearing the sound of their voice. Is everything okay? Why are you yelling through the wall? Who knocked on the door? Okay, so that still doesn't explain who is where. I don't know what they are. You just can't open the door for them no matter what. People are disappearing. The police think they are the reason. If you open the door, they take you. Okay, I won't open it for anyone. But what if you need to come get them? And I guess that's the internal, scary logic of you can't open any doors or you're going to be taken. But how'd they get inside the house? That doesn't make any sense. This is kind of an internal logic problem of no one let them in, but then they suddenly came into a bedroom that is between the room you're in and the room the shower is in, I think is what's happening. If I read that wrong, someone correct me, please, but I feel like that's what it is. You turn back to look for your phone, and it is nowhere to be seen. Your eyes scramble across the room looking for it. You begin to panic trying to find it as you think the sheriff was your only hope. As you're crawling on the floor looking underneath the bed, your hair stands up on your neck and chills run across your body. When you hear... Oh, I just lost my place. When you hear tap tap on your door. The voice states with a somber tone, John, please let me in. Just outside your door. You stare at the door and begin to be filled with the same curiosity as before. What could it be? The same curiosity begins to lead you to the door as you start crawling towards it to try and peek under it. You take a breath, look underneath, and see nothing. You then stand up and lean your body against the door and lay your ear on it to try and hear something. Knock, knock. Is this someone just trying to tell a knock, knock joke? The sound travels through your entire body while simultaneously ridding the curiosity that led you there and replacing it with panic. You take your weight off the door, and as you do, the shift in weight unintentionally allows the latch to slip out of the door frame. Oh, man. This is so play-by-play that, again, it kind of robs the tension and suspense. I don't know. So we've accidentally opened the door. Oh no. The door cracks open as you back away from it while you are in angst. While you stare in angst at your mistake. Thank you, John. I knew you would let me in. And that's it. Okay. Let's try to sum this up. As usual, this is not a bad premise. It definitely needs to be toned down and constrained more. But the idea of, being trapped inside of your own house, which is rather relatable these days, it needs a tension and a suspense that this story was definitely trying to do, and people liked it. This has traction on the subreddit. People like it. For me, I feel like it just wasn't executed well. This is the problem with second person narratives. You are telling me how I'm feeling. You are telling me what I am doing, and if I don't relate to it and I don't agree with you, I'm going to be mentally at odds, like not even subconsciously, but consciously at odds with what you're telling me. And it's, when you're watching a horror movie, and of course everyone makes mistakes in horror movies, the characters that is, but like if they make really, really obvious dumb stuff and they don't act like people anymore or relatable people, you kind of just stop caring. You lose your connection with them. And if you've lost that connection, you're not afraid for them. I'm not afraid for myself when I read this because I wouldn't do half of this stuff. So yeah, it was also, the rules are a little bit ill-defined. They seem to be able to be broken because, it started with, I'm outside your door, let me in. And we didn't. But then they got in anyway to a room. And so already you've like violated the first rule of like, well, I didn't let them in, so how are they in? You can't open any doors forever. Well, then this is just inevitable. And inevitability can kind of not really be scary because you need the chance of getting out of something. You need a struggle. You need conflict. And this just kind of feels like a linear path. All right, I'm going to check the comments, see what people think. Paprika's in. She says, but who was Dor? Well, it was John. Oh, keeping water next to me was a good choice. Raccoon says, Abysme, don't ruin my attempts at giving horrible advice. At least it's you giving advice and not me. Snickle says, and it was for pretty minor domestic disturbance. Jay says, just don't open the door. Okay, done. End of story. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, right. Okay, well, then I just don't open the door. But then I think maybe the author realized halfway through, well, then something has to happen. So, okay, they just go into a room, not the one you're in. Well, okay, well, that is a problem of your setup. A little ditty about Babe and John, two American kids with a ghoul on the lawn. I don't know what that reference is, Slime Beast. Don't open the door, literally any door. Knees weak, arms spaghetti. Doorways to danger. Press says... Oh, I just lost it. I don't know where to go. Oh, John, I'm respecting your privacy as a person, but asserting my authority as an eldritch abomination by coming in anyway. Carter says, knocking on heaven's door will never be the same. Alan says his palms are sweaty, knees weak, door spaghetti. Oh, man. Slimby says, isn't any I Am Legend literally vampire apocalypse constantly asking for a dude to be Lena? Yeah, kind of, yeah. That's why I thought vampires at first. But it's not, because literally it is just open door. Raccoon says, Abysme, have you ever heard Jack and Diane? What kind of never heard Jack and Diane? Oh, dude, I don't listen to popular music. And I'm a very bad American, to answer your question. I'm bad at being American. Alright, well, that was that. Oh, as usual, if anyone has a suggestion, feel free to just write out the title and where I can find it, and I will take a look. I do have a few saved up, so we are going to go to do those. Alright, let me see here. I need to change the text on the screen. Bear with me on that as well. This is not the easiest way to do this. Ooh, it doesn't reset to center. Oh, that's annoying. Whatever. I'll learn a better setup for this. It's the first time I'm using it. Alright. So now we are going to read. Get the chat back in front of me. Suggestion, play Among Us with the chat. No. Beth says, I want somebody to talk about case number 36, but that's an 8-part commitment to something I genuinely do not like, and I think that's a big ass. Dude, you say that, Beth, and you're correct, but I mean, that's so much of what the current zeitgeist of online horror fiction is. It's 8-part series, and you know, I'm not saying people shouldn't do that. They're going to do what they want. Trends are trends. But it does make it hard for someone who just wants to read short stories and, you know, look at them that way, because those are the ones that I've always appreciated or enjoyed more. You know, yeah, it is what it is. All right, so this one is called There Is Something Sinister in the Mangroves of East Florida by Red Gates on the Creepypasta subreddit. This one caught my attention because Florida is a great setting for anything, because Florida is Florida. My parents moved to Florida when I was around 15 years old. They were both very successful and made enough money to retire by the age they were in their mid-40s. Okay. Believable. Not uncommon, but believable. Happens. To say I was unhappy about it was an understatement. I hated that my parents were successful. No, I know they mean they're relocating. I would be leaving my childhood hometown and all my friends that lived in it. Also relatable. No one likes doing that. Additionally, because I went to boarding school, I never really was down there long enough to make any new friends. So when I was home on break, I found myself extremely bored. Video games only entertained me for so long, and I desperately needed another activity to keep me sane. Not today. More video games than you can freaking deal with. That was when I took up fishing. It's an activity that I still greatly enjoy today. I started off just fishing from the local boat ramp. However, when I received a small single-person kayak for my birthday, I began venturing out into the estuary that occupied the area between the mainland and the barrier islands that my family lived on. I'm assuming you live on the mainland. Yeah. Okay, this is all believable so far. This is rather strong. The estuary can seem like another planet sometimes. I like that. I like that. There is an estuary somewhat near my house. It's rather small and contained, but it does. It's very noticeably different from the surrounding terrain and buildings. And certain estuaries definitely can be very vibrant and just very otherworldly. I like this. This is good. There are tons of small mangrove-covered islands dotted throughout it. Additionally, the mixing of fresh and salt water led to an incredibly biodiverse ecosystem that was home to some of the coolest wildlife I have ever seen. But none of the wildlife will ever compare to 7 ellipses, it. I don't even mind that last sentence. A little bit tropey, but you know what? This is a nice setup. I'm out in an estuary, and estuaries themselves are very fascinating. None of this, I'm sure there's going to be something supernatural, but at least it is grounded in something a little bit out of the ordinary as far as what most people encounter. A lot of people don't live around estuaries. A lot of people probably don't even know what that is because it's not a very common word. So no, this is pretty good. All right. I started fishing, but then I had to stop after I accidentally hooked a manatee. Uh-huh. Suspension of disbelief broken. No one enjoys fishing. I personally don't. That much. Like, I can do it off a dock, but going on a boat and fishing, I've done it. It's not for me. But I know a lot of people do, of course. I remember the first time I knew something. Oh boy. I remember the first time I knew something. ... Unnatural. Yeah, don't do that. Because you've made a phrase splice, and your first phrase is, I remember the first time I knew something. Number one, I highly doubt you do. Number two, that's just bad writing. I hope that... I'm going to skim this really... Okay, I don't think it happens again, which is... I would hate for that to permeate through the rest of the story, because this opening was very, very good, in my opinion. I remember the first time I knew something unnatural was lurking out there like it happened yesterday, though it would be far from the last time I would encounter it. For the sake of time, I will only describe the first account, unless you all show enough interest and want me to share some of the other times I encountered it. I've said this a billion times. Not everything needs to be audience input and audience direction. Write a good story. If you really want to make a sequel later, you can. Don't just leave it open. Don't try to upvote bait and sequel bait and all that. The day had started off pleasant enough. The weather was sublime, and it was at least 90 degrees out. I had spent most of the day fishing around the various mangrove-covered islands that many fish like to hang out around. It was around 3 o'clock that I ran into an obstacle spelled with an I, it's incorrect spelling, that I had encountered many times. I was still rather new to fishing, and my cast was far from perfect. One of my casts had resulted in my hook going deep into the mangroves of the island I had been fishing around for the majority of the day, getting snagged on the dense roots of the plants. Yeah, a mistake I can see being made. I'm not an expert on fishing, but, hey, this believable slip-up in an activity. It's good. I sighed, mumbling, "Fuck, not again," to myself as I paddled towards the island to attempt to dig my hook out of the bush. I tied my kayak to a branch and began to wade through the shallow water into the mangroves. I used my fishing knife to hack away at the plants, following the string deeper and deeper into the island. At one point, I considered giving up on it. So, I've been around mangroves before. I can see getting your hook stuck on one, but it would be on the outside of the mangroves. Because are you really going to hook a deeper mangrove? It's kind of weird of, like, oh, my hook went, like, deep into a mangrove grove. I don't know what you call a grouping of mangroves. And it feels like a bad justification for why I went deeper into the mangrove grouping. Because you could. You could say I came to the outside mangrove and then I heard something or I saw something and I got interested. I was curious. Whatever. Minor nitpick. At one point I considered giving up on it, but I had already lost 6 hooks to the mangroves in the past 3 days, and it was getting expensive replacing them. Are hooks expensive? Like, I don't know. It was because of this that I chose to ignore the possible risk of getting bit by a snake or chewed up by mosquitoes and ventured on deeper and deeper. Oh, I chose to ignore the possible risk. Okay. Creepypasta trope. Why did I go deeper? Well, let me tell you. The first thing that I noticed was the smell. It was foul by every essence of the word, like something had died. But while it didn't smell like the typical scent of algae, algae scent, that needs to be just kind of rephrased. I was no expert on the matter, so I just assumed that it was a type that I had never encountered, responsible for the smell. That's fair. I'm not an expert. I didn't know. Perfectly good thing to admit for your character. I eventually found my hook I think it should be lodged. It says logged, though, into the root of a mangrove. I grabbed it, twisting it. See, this is what's confusing. You know it's lodged into the root of a mangrove. It would be on the outside of the mangroves. How are you going to cast into a mangrove grouping? Like, you can, but like, I don't know. It's weird how it was set up. I grabbed it, twisting it loose from the bark. As I looked up, I saw something that nearly made me vacate the contents of my stomach. Oh, at least it was nearly. Pinned to the tree that I had just dislodged my hook from with wooden stakes were at least 4 dead birds. I'm glad they are just birds. Not that I like people murdering birds and pinning them to trees, but I'm glad it wasn't 4 human bodies, because yes, you could do that, but it raises the stakes. And I like the Blair Witch aspect kind of thing to this. Like, oh, what are people doing deep in the mangroves? They were pretty far into decomposition, so I was unable to tell what species they were, but what I could tell was that they were not killed by anything natural. The birds had their guts hanging out, parts of their wings missing, and most of their eyeballs were gone completely. Okay. Not bad. Really not bad so far. A little bit of stumbling here and there, but overall, I'm here for this. I like the setting. I don't want to call it like urban exploration because it's not, but it does have that same kind of feeling of like, I'm just out doing my thing and weird shit, but in a very natural, grounded environment. One that a lot of people don't have a lot of experience with, so even if myself and the chat are finding problems with this, a lot of people wouldn't even assume. And I think that's a strength. I'm going to pause and look at the chat real quick. I'm beginning to think the author doesn't know about fishing or mangroves. Yeah, maybe. Like, there's not a... I think the character is a novice at it, and that's how you can kind of mask your own inexperience with fishing. That's what this author is doing. I'm okay looking over a lot of it because the point is they're out fishing. They're not an expert fisher. They don't know all the intricacies, and it doesn't really matter. I wonder if this leads to the OP accidentally snagging Dryad or Treant. Then this will turn into straight up sex. All of this for a single hook when he could have just cut the line and threaded in. Yeah, you're right, Snickle. Like, what little fishing I've done, hooks are not the expensive part. Poles are expensive. Certain types of lures are expensive. Hooks, buy those in packs. So that's kind of weird. Like, if that really happened, I would just cut my line instead of having to drag myself to the mangroves and walking in. Okay. Anyway. I stumbled back, tripping over a rock and falling onto my ass in the shallow water. What the fuck? I yelled, fighting off the urge to hurl right there and then. Oh man, I hate repeating myself so much, but I know not everyone listens to every single one of these, so let the horror and, if you're gonna use it, the gore speak for itself. We don't need to double down on that and have our character constantly talk about how they're gonna throw up or how much they feel like they're gonna throw up. We get it. It's okay. We can, let us imagine that for ourselves. I quickly got to my feet, returning to my kayak at a much faster pace than I had left it. I disassembled my fishing rod. I was no longer in the mood for fishing. Plus, it was getting late, and I wanted to return home before it got dark. Okay, I like that. We're not gonna, set up a At least not yet. We're not going to stay around and start camping and hunt deeper and deeper. Like, if I saw this, I would go, okay, someone's doing some Blair Witch shit out here. I do not want to be a part of this or get caught up in it. I'm out. And maybe I'll report this to somebody. I like this as a believable response. As I began my lengthy kayak trip home, I took some deep breaths, but no matter what I tried, I could not stop thinking about the birds, their mangled bodies pinned to a tree like some shit out of a horror movie. Normally, I'd be annoyed at that statement, but I'm also thinking of Blair Witch constantly, so okay, fine. At least they didn't say it was like the Blair Witch. Let me, the reader, make that connection. I was quickly snapped out of my thoughts by a splash from behind me. It sounded distant, but still too loud. It should be two with two O's. Loud to have been something small. I looked over my shoulder, but there was no sign that anything had happened. No ripples in the water, no nothing. I continued paddling, whatever was going on. Whatever was going on, comma. I wanted no part of it, comma, and then I heard it again. Maybe just put that into 2 sentences. Closer this time, a loud splash. I quickly looked behind me, but once again there was nothing. I paddled faster. A small bit of fear began to take hold in me. Hold of me? Was something following me? I passed by the island that I knew meant I was halfway home. Cool. Lets us know where we are in just one little sentence. That's strong too. But the feeling of relief was quickly shattered as I heard the snapping of branches behind me. Not like a bird or something landing on a tree, but like a large animal running through the dense mangroves. I didn't bother to look back this time. I just paddled and paddled with all my might as fast as I could. My hands ached. My arms were sore. Knees weak. Arms spaghetti. But the adrenaline had kicked in, and the fear motivated me far more than anything ever could to paddle harder. This is kind of the tension I wish that we had in the previous story, and it was achieved in one paragraph. Just as an aside, Emily says, honestly, whenever somebody in creepypasta is like, I suddenly lost the contents of my stomach, or it was so revolting I couldn't describe it, I always just roll my eyes and immersion is broken. Yeah. And the inexplicable horror is, of course, a big Lovecraftian trope, but we can ignore that in Lovecraft a lot because atmosphere and other things going on in the story are, kind of carry it over that. And I'm a firm believer in less is more, especially with your monster or your reveal. Oh, Prasicor brings up a good point. Crocs and gators in Florida. Yeah, that would be my worry, is giant ass crocs and gators. There's a giant animal behind me. It's probably one of them. All right. For the rest of the way home, I heard nothing, but I never slowed down. I had no intentions of doing so until I could see my house. Thankfully, I would not have to wait long. As soon as I saw my house, the windows reflecting the bright orange setting sun back at me. I like that. It's like when you're young and you have to get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and you have to do a series of turning off your lights, and you just have this foreboding sense of there's something behind me. I can't look behind me, it'll get me. Not as scary to us when we're adults for the most part, but that is being communicated in this story, and it's happening over quite a long distance for this character and time and distance. Time and space. Part of me wishes that I had just pulled my kayak up onto my yard and gone inside. Part of me wishes that I had just gone into my kitchen and had a nice dinner with my family and forgot about the day's events. We're missing another comma on days to show possessive. But I didn't. No, something inside me was trying to tell me something, trying to tell me to turn around. And I did. And I will regret that decision for the rest of my life. We didn't need that sentence. What I saw haunted me to my core. Didn't need that sentence. Peeking out from the mangrove was what seemed to be a decomposing human corpse. Not a literal skeleton, but an animate, decomposing human corpse. It stood there in the shallows of an island staring at me. Its skin was a sickly gray color, and its eyes were foggy and white. It had no bottom jaw, almost as if it had fallen off at some point. Its skin was covered in green pustules, some of which looked ready to burst at any moment. A lot of body horror here. Parts of its arms and legs hung by mere strings of tendon and tissue. I couldn't move, couldn't talk, couldn't breathe, couldn't breath. Damn it, people, breath and breathe. Get them right. Spell them right, please. I just stared at it, and it stared at me. Its dead eyes burrowed into my soul, causing me to tremble with dread, and almost as soon as I had seen it, it retreated back into the mangroves. You know what? There's one more paragraph, and then we'll talk about this. I quickly put the kayak away, excusing myself from dinner, and went straight into my room. I laid in my bed for hours, thinking about it. That's 4, 5, 6 more ellipses. I couldn't get its face out of my head, but at some point I must have drifted asleep. As I woke at 3 a.m., desperately needing to pee, called it. I got up, shambling to the bathroom and taking care of business. As I walked back into my room, something outside my window caught my eye. A tree that was situated at the end of my driveway, but my attention was not on the tree, but on the bird that was pinned to it with blood dripping from its freshly disemboweled guts. All right. I have mixed feelings about this ending and this creature reveal. I kind of like that it's a decomposing, waterlogged corpse. I like that it didn't just run up on our protag here. I like that it was seen from a distance. I like that it's very, there's not a lot going on with it, but that's okay because again, it's leaving more up to the imagination. We know that it pins birds on things, and it's almost like it's marking its territory. And now our protag's house is part of its territory. I don't. There was some description and some just, oh my god, it was so horrible. Like, this is creepy enough on its own because this is now an invasion of your solace. It's an invasion of this activity that you love, that you really wanted because you were bored at home and you wanted to do something outside of just playing video games. And I like all of that. I like the fear of our safe places and situations being invaded. Like that, that's a very human thing to be afraid of. Overall, I actually really like this. I like the idea of, this is, hey, something fucked up's happening in Florida, which we all know to be true. It's a decomposing human corpse. You could even do some deep lore on this and say oh, that's clearly people doing bath salts. I could kind of believe that happening. Someone's skin falling off and them just wandering over into the mangroves and stalking people. That's a fucking Florida story that you would hear. Florida man caught stalking people on bath salts, yeah. Oh, what? I upvoted it, and I encourage you, if you like this as much as I did, go ahead and give it an upvote. This only has 29, and I feel like this was stronger than most of the stuff I see. So, and author, if you want to make a second one, I personally wouldn't. I know my opinion doesn't really mean a lot, but I would I think this is well self-contained as is. Clean it up a little bit, some typos here and there. Of course, you don't have to do anything I'm saying, but I just like this how it is. All right, guys, discuss amongst yourselves. I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go pee and then run and shut my doors, and hopefully John doesn't get in. And we're back. Okay. Press says, I'm a little peeved at them seeing the monster from a distance, but giving a fairly detailed description. Yeah, you have a point. Yeah, that's a that's a quandary. You want to give a detailed description, but you also don't want to just be like, because then if it's detailed, you must be close, and if you're close, how'd you survive? And being stalked by something is sometimes more scary, oftentimes more scary than actually fighting something, a la It Follows. I couldn't get a good feel of how far away the mangroves were from his backyard. I can kind of ignore that. It's enough of a distance to where he could keep a certain distance between him and the monster. Like, by no means am I saying this is perfect. It definitely, it could use another pass. But as far as most of what I read on here, I don't know. I like it. It sets my favorite thing in creepypasta, which is atmosphere. And the atmosphere and the setting and the imagination that it encourages in you is more important than kind of the other elements, which is definitely a personal preference. All right, now we're gonna move on to a different one. Let me get this updated on the screen. All right, I'm gonna say it. No sleep. We're on no sleep. My voice is doing okay as long as I keep drinking water. Oh, there was a part 2 to that story. I may or may not read it. All right. I just spoke with Paprika and she says there's like a minute lag between what's happening, and that I am sorry for that. I'm definitely gonna go for ultra low latency going forward because wow, it didn't used to be that bad. Like normal low wasn't as bad as you know, it just I don't know, whatever. Keeps telling me the stream's current bitrate is lower than the recommended bitrate. I'm way above 128. I don't know what this thing wants from me. And I don't think I can change anything right now. I'm on constant bitrate. It should not be changing from 2500. It must be just OBS not communicating with YouTube enough. I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I'll look into it for next time. But I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong. Everything is fine on your guys' end as far as hearing me. So yeah, see something wrong, let me know. All right. This is I Teach the Trees to Talk by Fainting Goat on No Sleep. 2.2 thousand upvotes, many awards. That's a good amount. That is a good amount for the average story that gets posted to No Sleep. And I want to say Fainting Goat, I've read something by them before somewhere. Of course, all of these start to kind of just blend together when you do it for as long as I have. Let's see what this is about. At first, this caught my attention because it was just, I Teach the Trees to Talk. It wasn't a No Sleep title. It wasn't a rules story, at least not from the title. Feels just a bit more novel and charming than most of the things I see. So hopefully that pays off. Once I was like you, blissful. That was Wow. Oh boy, Abysme, you're getting old. Blissful, naive, able to look at the sky and see only the blue expanse and the clouds, able to look at the forest and see the leaves and the trees only for what they are. Then they were taken from me, my family. A little strong, a little too strong. And I get that's kind of like you have to hook no sleep readers within the first two sentences. I wish it wasn't like that. Maybe this will be a bit more constrained. We lived in a modest house tucked. Yeah, so sorry. I mean to say this because, well, now I know the family was taken. That would have been something to describe in the story, as opposed to just telling me it happened already. Maybe that's required background. I don't know. I don't like opening up with that. It just feels like you're blowing your load too quick. We lived in a modest house tucked up against a stretch of forest. I live there still, but it is a hollow shell now. The house or the forest? I am reluctant to use the word live, because, live, reside. I reside here. Yes, that is more accurate. The doors to my children's bedroom stay closed. I sleep on the sofa instead of in the bed I shared with my husband. And I allow the dust to settle where it will. I feel like I am floating through the remainder of my days now that this house is empty. I marvel that I still leave footprints behind. I remember that day only in fragments. It was overcast. I remember the weight of the grocery bags, but I cannot tell you what was in them. I remember the way the creak of the door hinges echoed in the empty house. How my call to my children went unanswered. I abhor silence now. It's unclaimed. I fill my minutes with sound, with the TV, with music, anything to stave away that thundering emptiness that is forever etched in the recesses of my mind. At some point, I must have put the groceries down, but I don't recall this. My memories skip about. I remember the pattern of light on the floor of the kitchen, streaming in through the window over the sink with vivid clarity. I don't remember anything else other than the light and the door, just that brief image like a snapshot in time. I can close my eyes and conjure it perfectly. The screen with minute rips and tears, the flat shadow of the clouds like a blanket on the back patio, obscuring the faint stain of mold in the seams. This is a lot of description and imagery, and I can't say that it's bad. It's not to my preference because I feel like we're kind of just stalling for time here. And I get that it's recalling something that happened, but I almost feel like it's a bit too much. But I don't remember my actions, just that I was standing at the back door, wondering why it hung open like this. I think I closed it. I think I searched the house and didn't find any sign of my family. Then I was outside, walking across the yard towards the forest, and all I could hear were the creaking of the branches and the rustling of their leaves. The trees were in a tumult. Wow, like tumultuous. It was like the waves of the ocean. I felt uneasy walking among them, and this kept me from calling out for my family. This is why I lived. Because you didn't make a noise. Okay. Um, this is kind of, a no sleep thing of God, how do I put this without sounding like an asshole? There is definitely a difference between no sleep and your typical creepypasta, I guess. The two definitely overlap. But there is an emphasis in no sleep writing for, almost like you're writing like Stephen King. You're writing like this as a novel. And I prefer the side of creepypasta of, kind of like your 4chan post, your the blunt, less flowery descriptions. Neither is correct, neither is wrong. It's just a preference. If I wanted to read a flowery story, then I would buy one. For as much as No Sleep says, oh, we're presenting these like blog posts, this doesn't feel like a blog post. This isn't really immersive if you're going for, this really happened to me. And that's an identity crisis that I feel No Sleep has. They couch themselves in immersion and relatability, but so many, and of course, I see this all the time on the creepypasta wiki too. This is someone, using their creative writing like a proper, a more formal horror story. It's not wrong. It's just not what I go for, and it's weird to see this so much. I suppose I don't know. Like I'm this is a nitpick, and this is definitely just my bias, but it is something that I'm reminded of. There is a gulch behind the house. It's not very deep, but it is sheer, and from the top, one could see. Oh, and from the top, yeah, that's the problem with combo splices. And from the top, one could see clearly through the trees what was below. My children played there often. They would slide down the loose dirt of the gulch and climb back up again until they returned home muddy and tired. We permitted it. I never feared for their safety. I wish I'd known. As much as I'm ragging on it, this is good description. This reminds me of a place my family used to live. I can very kind of clearly picture it in my mind. There's a tree that overlooks the gulch. It has split in two right at the crest. Over time, dirt has filled in the gap between stable ground and the tree trunk, so that a slight bridge of sorts exists. You can walk right to the split in the tree and lean over the gulch and stare down into it. It is an old tree, but even when it was creaking as it moved that day, is a tree gonna swallow someone as they walk into it? I wondered when the wind had picked up so drastically, and if I should be concerned. Sorry, I can't fucking read today. I have this new monitor set up where it's further back, and I probably should just zoom in because I'm used to having this a lot closer to me. Let's just do that. The tree's bark was rough underneath my palms as I leaned on it. I remember how it left imprints in my skin from how hard I gripped it. I don't like touching rough things anymore. I don't like the feel of wood. My family was down there, all three of them, my husband and my two children. One of them, the youngest, was no longer moving. I suppose that is a mercy of some kind. I think my children were playing in the gulch, as they often did. My husband must have heard their cries and run to their rescue, thinking perhaps one fell. Perhaps it was a broken leg. Something they could be saved from. Not this. How could anyone expect this? I'm going to take a second to read the chat. David says front loading much. Yeah. Did you need to? Because the trees took my family. Now I'm going to describe how the trees took my family. Okay? It's kind of nice when I don't know that the trees are going to take your family until it happens. Raccoon says it is capturing an imperfect memory and the random inane details that we somehow remember very well. That is correct. It was a good description of memory. You remember holding bags, but not what was in them. I do like that. That is good writing. Like this is not a poorly written story. It is just, any flaws I have so far are purely just my own personal preferences. Other than the front loading, I do think but again, I think that's just because this is how you have to write on no sleep. And I wish that authors didn't feel they have to be constrained to do that. There were... Oh, there we go. There are things in the woods. I understand this now. I wish I'd understood this before, when I naively let my children go play there, ignorant of the danger. The woods stretch for miles. They harbor many things. And now, perhaps lured by the sound of children laughing, of easy prey, some of those things had strayed close to my home. There were 4 of them. They were human, naked and filthy, with the heads of wolves. Okay. Yet even those were deformed. One had 2 heads, branching at the neck, that turned and snapped independent of the other. Another had 2 faces conjoined in the middle with a single blind eye in what should be the forehead, an empty socket where the 2 sides merged. Its mouth hung open, unable to close, and it stumbled back and forth in a wavering, disjointed line. Yet another had no muzzle, its tongue hanging out from between the handful of teeth in the round hole of its mouth, black and swollen like a tumor. I think I have a problem with the pacing here. It started out of just like describing a memory, which I think was strong, and now and then I found my dead family, and then there's these wolf creatures. I feel like we're not really stumbling into these things and experience them in an organic way. I feel like it's just kind of happening. And these are horrific monsters that are being described, but the way they're introduced, I'm just not feeling it. And again, that could just be me. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. I do not think these are the only horrors in this world. They're just the ones my family was unfortunate enough to be killed by. My husband fought to reach our surviving child. He grappled at the one closest to him, but it was in vain. Two of them were dragging our eldest away, and then one of the wolves crashed over him, tore with those teeth, and our son was gone. It was quick. That's that, at least. But my husband, mad with grief and rage, continued to fight. There were too many. They were too strong, inhuman, obscene things, born in some dark place along with other monstrosities that lurk in the recesses of the forest. One grabbed his left arm. Okay, so I thought that everyone was like unconscious. But I guess no, they were just she just happened upon them right as this is happening. Okay. Well, okay, one grabbed his left arm, another grabbed the right, and they pulled. I think he screamed when it came off the arm. I think he did, but I don't remember it. I only remember the trees. Then they ate him. And now I'm dead. The trees bore witness to his cries. I lay there and wept, unable to scream my anguish lest I be discovered and killed as well. I covered my mouth with my hands, holding back my cries. I have no kids, and I must scream. I bit into the skin of my palm until I bled. One of us had to survive. One of us had to remember what was done here. And do what? Call the police? I mean, I kind of... I get the wanting to stay alive, but I don't really get that would be a thought that would cross your mind in this moment. Like, wouldn't your, parental, maternal instinct kick in and just do something? Maybe not. Maybe some people would just obscure themselves, but I feel like we are constricting our protag's agency so much just so we could describe this happening. Maybe it would have been better to have, like, she finds different bodies along the way and pieces together what happened, because now it's a lot of just telling. Then this happened, then that happened. I don't know. Sometime later, much later I think, I found myself slouched in that split of the tree, listening to the gentle murmur of the leaves above me. I considered letting myself fall sideways down into the gulch, and it was a silly, desperate thought. The fall wouldn't kill me. It might not even break any bones. Nothing but soft, loose soil to catch me. I went down there. I searched, and I think I was half mad with my own grief. The creatures had even eaten their bones. I'd heard the cracking, and I desperately covered my ears to block it out. I thought, though, perhaps there would be something left. Anything, but those monsters ate everything. Their jaws distending to swallow limbs whole. My youngest was eaten in one bite, the belly of the creature swollen like a snake when it was done. I mean, if you like weird monsters eating people, this is your jam. I just feel that it's superficial? I don't know. I'm not sure what I wanted. Something. I mean, I'm not sure that the story knows what it wants. Something to prove to myself that they lived and died here. Something to take back with me. Maybe they wouldn't be fully gone if I found that. Okay. What about running away and being like... I would understand wanting to go back and finding something. But I would understand that, I would agree with it more if it was, I ran the fuck away because holy shit, this is terrifying. Like, if you saw this, would you really just, you would either run away or try to get involved. I think just standing around and letting it happen and then being like, all right, well, time to go search now, just feels very unrealistic of a human response. I don't know. I stumbled through the woods in an ever-widening circle until the sky grew overcast and it began to rain. Only then did I return to my silent house, and only then did I allow myself to scream and cry with the shock of what I had witnessed. Yeah, okay, fair enough. The police searched. They told me that perhaps my husband had left and taken the children. He remains a missing person and my children with him. You didn't tell them that you saw them get eaten? I mean, yeah, they wouldn't believe the monster part, but you could say, they could say like, oh, you were suffering from shock, but yeah, an animal probably ate them. Okay. My friends encouraged me to sell the house, to move, to rebuild. I smile and say, I will think about it, but I cannot. I have a purpose now. To go, okay. I guess we'll see what that is. Some days after, when the rain had stopped and the ground had dried, I went back to the gulch. I stood there where the tree trunk split, and wondered, should I go into the woods and not return, walk until those creatures found me and I could join my family? Yeah, I mean, that'd be a thought brought on by trauma. I can see that. Survivor's guilt. And overhead, the trees wept with me. I heard their branches sway and sigh, murmuring their sorrow in time to my own quiet weeping. I did not understand their words, but I understood their tone. They grieved. They could not warn us, not in a way we would have understood, but they could only watch as my family died and mourn when it was over. This is projection, which is okay, but because the title of the story is I Teach the Trees to Talk, so I'm assuming that at some point she's going to do some druidry here. Druidry? Is that a word? No, of course it's not, but I kind of like it. It's like witchery, but druidry. I didn't feel as alone. I went back to the trees often. I sat with them in that branch of the tree trunk and told them of my despair and my loneliness. In time, they began to speak words to me. Is this the Lorax? Loraxia? Female Lorax? Sorry, they whispered. Shrug. We're sorry. They learned it from me, I think. So this is interesting. We have someone dealing with grief and making it into a very kind of surreal description, which isn't bad, but like this is more just sad than it is scary. Like we're going through the stages of grief. I don't really understand how this is supposed to be frightening. I understand why they apologize. I know why the trees shook and roared as I entered the forest. They tried to warn my children, they tried to warn my husband, and they tried to warn me. I wonder if I had survived, if I'd call out their names, if the trees hadn't implored me to be silent. And for a long time, I was bitter that I was spared and left to my loneliness. What's the takeaway here? If you see trees being blown by the wind a bunch, it means there's wolf people about to eat your kids? Not anymore. There is something I need to do. The trees speak to me. They are hard to understand, but I have learned something of their language, and so I try to teach them our own. They say that trees are connected. They're under the ground. They are connected there under the ground. Roots entwined, passing messages along, sharing memories. I can only hope that they are telling each other what they have learned from me. Now to speak words that we may understand, on and on, from root to root, from forest to forest. What have you gone into the woods and heard the canopy shake above you, even though you do not feel the wind yourself? No? Well, okay, yes, but then I hear and I see the wind, so I see the effects of the wind. Did it feel oh, that should be fill. It says feel, but did it fill you with dread for a reason you could not name? Their voices are not very loud. You must listen hard to hear them, harder still to understand. There are many things in the forest. The trees know them all. I teach the trees to talk. Listen to them whisper. Listen, listen. They are trying to warn you. Okay. I feel like this is a prompt that someone was trying to write around, and they had to be like, talk to trees or something. And so the actual horror of it is kind of just an afterthought. It's a footnote. Having an industry beverage, which is probably a bad idea, but whatever. This sounds more like grief-induced delusion. Yeah. Which you can do, but when you see through the delusion, you're kind of like, okay, well, what next? I'm honestly lost where the story's going. Me too, Emily. Me too. Jay says, I feel like the story would be better without wolf people. Family gets murdered in the woods and lady goes crazy with grief, talks to trees. Yes. Yes. What happened to them? I don't know. But the trees were moving when it happened, and that's all I can fixate on. I think that's a lot better. But you know what? As is No Sleep's tradition, that may have been it. That may have been the original intention, and then it was, well, it's on No Sleep. Unless I have a supernatural creature, it's going to get removed because it's quote-unquote not horror. And, because human grief at losing your family is not horrific enough, apparently. But also everything on here is real. Meh. David says, I have a problem with No Sleep monsters in general. They could be cool, but the framing and the pacing doesn't give them enough weight. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So, like, not the worst thing I've run on no sleep by far, but I feel it does just suffer from no sleep syndrome. And it robs authors of the. I mean, of course, they can rewrite the story and post it anywhere else, and I see that all the time, but, you know, there is the want to post a no sleep because that's where you can get the most eyes. And you just have to be constrained constantly and not in a good way. You have to fit in this very tired box. Anyway, next story. Let me change out the text so I can read what's next. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right, that's enough of my terrible singing. The no horror is my favorite cryptid. Oh, Slime Beast and I definitely have a camaraderie as far as posting something on No Sleep and then being no horrored and having it removed because, as a Reddit mod myself, yes, it's you do have to weigh a lot of things and you have to make a decision on can something really, and like that's hard on the No Sleep. Sorry, on the creepypasta subreddit. The amount of times I've had to be like, I really, this is just a picture of something. I don't understand how this relates to no sleep at all. It's hard for me to make that decision of do I allow it on here or do I take it down to try to discourage that? There's a billion other subreddits where you can post creepy images that have nothing to do with no sleep. I feel bad. It's tough, but that's more of a category. This isn't horror. If I saw a bad drawing of Slender Man, what I thought was bad, I'm not going to remove it because it's not bad. Or sorry, that it's not good. So when you apply that to stories, well, this isn't horror. Unless it's a fucking account of someone going golfing and nothing happens, who are you to say that? I know you want to curate your subreddit, but that has just led to shit tons of copycat stuff. And I know people love to say, like, well, creepypasta has, the haunted gaming story. I just recently read a story that turned out to be a haunted gaming story, and you didn't really expect it. Yes, tropes will always exist, but nowhere else other than No Sleep and things that are trying to be No Sleep do I see someone spelling out their tropes and their category out in their freaking title. So there is a balance there. All right. Stop saying you mod No Sleep. I don't mod No Sleep, and I would hate to mod No Sleep. Fuck that. I ain't doing that. Okay, this next one is called I Bought a Geiger Counter at an Old Swap Meet by Maid of the Moon, and I swear I've also read something by Maid of the Moon. Probably have. Probably have. Again, I chose this because the title did not piss me off. I wasn't very concerned about it being functional because it was just a prop for a costume I was making. I like that. My friend was having an 80s themed party and we were supposed to dress as something iconic from the era, so Chernobyl. Or just the fear of nuclear war. That's more of a 50s, 60s thing, I guess. I don't know. Wait, Chernobyl wasn't in the 80s, was it? Fuck. I should remember. I should know that. She was having it in her backyard with a bonfire and everyone was just going to try. Okay, no, sorry. I need to look that up. I'm going to be stupid. $1986. Okay. No, it was in the 80s. All right. I thought maybe. My friend was having an 80s themed birthday party, and we were supposed to dress as something iconic from the era. She was having it in her backyard with a bonfire, and everyone was just going to try and socially distance themselves. So this is happening in current day. Okay, cool. And so the pandemic's going on, but it's not the focus of the story, which I appreciate. I wasn't sure it was a good idea, but she was going to have it anyway, so I decided to go. Yeah, okay, relatable. My costume was Chernobyl worker. I had loved the TV show when I saw it last year and figured that the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in 1986 was worthy of iconic 80s status. Okay. We're mentioning a show here, but it's not. It happened, like, in Chernobyl. This is a decent setup. I don't mind this. Of course, I found the prop first, and that's how I got the idea. I paid $20 for it. The old pudgy guy with a cigar butt in his teeth took my money from where he sat in a beat-up lawn chair. You think this thing still works? I asked him as I turned it over in my hands and gave it a closer inspection. How the hell should I know? He responded with a shrug. When I got home to my small but comfy one-bedroom apartment on the second floor, I had put the heavy yellow box on my cluttered kitchen table and promptly forgot about it. The week before the party, I picked it up again while my friend Daniel was over. Wish it was Daryl, so I could say Daryl. Hey, did I show you this yet? I asked, holding it up for him to see. Pretty cool, huh? It's for my costume. Whoa! He was immediately interested and took it out of my hands like a dick. I should have known that my tech geek friend would go nuts over it. He started fiddling with it while I talked. I'm going to wear one of those white Tyvek painter's suits, and maybe I can fashion some kind of plastic face shield so that it looks like some kind of helmet type thing. That was very clunky to read, but I think that is how people talk, so that's fine. You know what would be cool? What if I can rig up some kind of noise with my phone so that I can go around the party and point that thing at people and it would do little clicky noises? I could say you have spent too much time in the radiation zone or something like that. That'd be pretty funny. Yeah. This is a good idea for a costume. I'm kind of jealous. Daniel ignored me for a minute, mesmerized by his investigation of the little machine. Finally, he said, I think this thing works. What, really? My eyes went up in surprise. Look, here's a switch. I think there's a battery inside. You think that Protag would have flipped the switches anyway? He flipped the switch as we both stared at it. After a second or two, we heard a loud crackling noise. We both jumped in the air, startled. What the hell? What is it doing? I asked as the thing immediately cracked and squealed louder. I could see the needle jumping up and down in the little glass indicator panel. Daniel shut it off. Okay, so... And I'm sure this is going to be addressed. I don't know a lot about Geiger counters other than that they measure radiation. Do they only measure radiation of a certain amount? Does it depend on what parameters that you put into it? Because I know, like, there's radiation everywhere. Spooky. It's, the sun gives off radiation. Our monitors give off radiation. Our microwaves are radioactive, to a degree. So do Geiger counters just automatically read ambient radiation and therefore are always clicking, or can you set the threshold amount to be like only at this high end because that would indicate something bad? I don't know. Maybe Paprika can come in here and tell me I'm stupid. It must be broken, he speculated. Oh, sorry. I skipped something. No. What the hell? What is it doing? I asked as the thing immediately crackled and squealed louder. I could see the needle jumping up and... sorry. It must be broken, he speculated. Dan, you're freaking me out now. How do you know it's broken? What if there's a bunch of radiation in here? He stopped and thought for a moment while I waited anxiously. I could almost see his big, sexy brain spinning inside his head. Finally, he said, no, it's got to be broken because it's saying that there is a massive amount of radiation in here, and that just can't be. Sure, there's pollution in the city, but we're not even near any kind of nuclear plants or anything. I mean, it's not really pollution, it'd just be radiation. Whatever. Are you sure? I said, still a little unnerved. If there was this much radiation in here, you'd be sick or dying or something. Don't stress about it. You'll scare the crap out of people at the party, though. That was a good idea for a costume. He picked up his coat and went to the door. I gotta go to work. I'll see you later, he said as he left. I was a little bothered, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized he was right. I put the thing up on my fridge until the day of the party. Your fridge is radioactive. Look out. Your food's gone bad. My costume was a big hit, and I had a good time that night. It didn't take long for me to realize that I couldn't hear very well with the helmet part on, and it kept steaming up when I went near the fire, so I just took that part off and wore a mask. Yeah. At least I had entered the party in full costume. I thought, that's all very relatable. Totally have done that before. Paprika says it will have a scale and a sensitivity. Okay, so for all we know, it's just like cranked up to maximum and it's going to read any and all radiation. We don't know. And I like that our characters are not so knowledgeable about it that they just, pull that out of their ass. Sometimes you can't have an expert in a story, but it's kind of nice when your characters know a little bit, not everything. After midnight, I sat talking to people I knew from work with Daniel, who had come dressed as a giant Rubik's Cube with little colored cardboard squares affixed to his shirt. I tried to pull the Geiger counter trick on the group, but the thing wouldn't make its noise anymore. I assumed that the battery was truly dead now, and it kind of spoiled my joke. I had one more drink, and I decided to leave because I was supposed to work the next morning. Ooh. Going to a drinking party before work. It wasn't very far to my apartment, and it wasn't very cold for January, so I decided to walk. I was a little drunk and in a good mood, so I pulled out my earbuds and listened to some tunes to enhance the effect. I was home before I knew it. I've done that too many times in college. Well, I'm wasted. Time to walk home and get my tunes out. I walked in the front doors of my building, singing a tune under my breath. A neighbor, so this was I think this is a British author, possibly European, that I only knew by sight, gave me a really strange look as he passed me on his way out. I made a mental note to only sing in my head from now on. As I walked up the short flight of stairs to my floor, I heard some strange noises that I didn't remember being in the song I was listening to. I couldn't figure out what it was until I was almost in front of my door. I took out the earbuds. I just want to stop right here and say this is rather well written. This is a lot of what our protag is doing and how and everything around them is feels very human, feels very relatable. I really don't have any problems other than 2 nitpicks. I'm quite excited for this. The Geiger counter was crackling incessantly. Okay, so it's very, very loud in the house. So they're going to have to explain that. I looked down at the metal box in my hand in horror. I realized it had been on the whole night. It wasn't that it didn't work at the party, it was just that there hadn't been anything to detect until just then when I walked into my building. My mouth felt dry, knees weak, arms spaghetti. As I inserted my keys and opened my door, I walked around my apartment. The machine kept crackling, but it seemed that it was quieter in my bedroom and loudest when I put it on the floor by my refrigerator. I knew it! Radioactive food. Was my fridge nuclear, I thought? I decided that was stupid. But it's true. David says, what are your walking home, mildly drunk on a January night tunes of choice? Well, back then... Back then it was a lot of death metal. Yeah. Probably that Antichrist album. I went out of my apartment into the hallway. As I went down the hallway, the noise lessened. When I entered the stairwell and went up a floor, it got even quieter. When I turned around and ascended all the way to the first floor. Ascended all the way to the first floor? Wouldn't that be on the bottom? The machine started to crackle in a continuous screech. I walked down the hallway until I was at the apartment directly below mine. I didn't know who lived there. I didn't know any of my neighbors on the first floor, in fact. Yeah, I don't know any of my neighbors. I knocked on the door. I couldn't hear anyone inside. I turned off the yellow box in my hand so I could listen. Panicked, I knocked louder. Is anyone there? I yelled. Now I banged on it with a fist. I still heard nothing. I was really scared by then. Hey, whoever's in there, open up! I banged with both fists. A sleepy-eyed woman in her 60s came out of a door down the hall. She wore an irate expression, and I immediately knew that I had woken her up. What are you doing, young lady? She asked me in a cross tone. What are you doing? No. Do you know who lives here? I stammered out, unsure of what to tell her. Her face softened a bit, but not much. Well, you're a little late. They took him away yesterday. Are you part of the family? Oh, someone died from radiation, she asked, looking me over with eyes that said she didn't believe that I was. No, was all I could think to say. Why? Where'd he go? Honey, he's dead. Had been for a while, too, is what I heard. The woman tells me as she wraps her sweater over her shoulders and shivers. Now, why don't you run along now and stop keeping me up at this time of night? I'm sick, you know. Got a hell of a flu, and it's not easy to sleep. I got a doctor's appointment in the morning, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd shut the hell up and allow me to get at least a bit of shut-eye. And then slam the door in my face. Okay. So is there something infecting the whole first floor, I wonder? The mystery deepens. Feng Shui says, thus far this has been kind of interesting. I don't want it to shit the bed. Yeah. Radiation is scary, and that has been a persistent part of our human fear since we, unlocked those horrible secrets. That was a couple weeks ago. I panicked when I heard the neighbor say she was sick. I called the police because I didn't know what else to do. It was a long night explaining the whole story to one dubious beat cop after another. They had to wake up the irate neighbor again, and she gave me one of the evilest looks I have ever seen. They questioned her and then me again. They were convinced I was pulling some kind of prank. At some point, an officer showed up who inspected the Geiger counter. An officer did? Wouldn't you call hazmat? Who inspected the Geiger counter and tried it out for himself. He must have been convinced because he made some calls. I sat on the curb across the street as some kind of city inspector, there we go, came, and then a fire truck, and then some unmarked city vehicles. If they're unmarked, how do you know they're city vehicles? Because inspectors are driving them? Maybe. By daylight, the fire department was evacuating the building. The police told me that they wanted me to go to the hospital for some testing. I told them I would take an Uber, but they insisted that I ride in an ambulance. I felt stupid being transported like that when I felt just fine. All that believable. If they really do think that there is a hazardous radiation lake somewhere, this is tracking well. I think this is good. At the hospital, I was met by doctors who were wearing white hazmat suits. It felt ironic that I was also wearing a white suit. They had me undress, and they put everything I was wearing, including my earrings, into an orange plastic bag, which they sealed. They made me stay at the hospital after several tests and rounds of questions, and I slept fitfully for a few hours in my own room with plastic sheeting separating me from the doctors and nurses. This is very clearly someone saw Chernobyl and wanted to make a horror story, which I don't blame them. I don't. I saw the series too. It was good. But now I kind of wish we hadn't name dropped Chernobyl. It's always dangerous to do that. That afternoon, people from the FBI came to speak with me and told me about my neighbor from downstairs and his death from radiation poisoning a week earlier. Oh no. He had been a nuclear physicist at one point, but he had somehow become angry at life or society or something. I mean, don't we all? He had decided to make a statement that the whole world would see, but they still don't know how he acquired the plutonium that he was using to make the bomb in a room hidden by a false wall in his apartment. It hadn't been stored properly, and it had leaked, and that was what had made him sick. Wouldn't that make you sick too? Like, we even had it in the beginning of the story. If this radiation is really like this high on the Geiger counter, then within a day, you're going to be sick. Because radiation doesn't... Gosh, I may need paprika in here to help explain this. Because radioactive material, depending on the material, just spreads radiation like crazy, I think. Or I could be wrong. Paprika, correct me in the comments or come tell me. Because I want to be fair to this story. But I feel like if you have a plutonium leak, it doesn't matter that you're on the second floor. I think everyone's getting that radiation poisoning, and you're going to feel it kind of quick, depending on how radioactive the plutonium is. But I like this. This is a rarity. This is like a sci-fi horror, which you barely ever see. Lol, dumb physicist. Yeah. Not to toot my own horn, I wrote a Fleming storage project that had kind of a similar plot to this, but I like it. I like seeing it. Anyway, I lost my place because I'm dumb. All right. They thanked me for calling the police when I did. They said I might have saved countless lives for alerting them to radiation because they told me I wasn't allowed to talk to anyone about it. Oh no. They explained that they needed time to investigate and they didn't want to panic the public unnecessarily. We found it here. It's being contained. We don't. Anyone who's in trouble, we're gonna move you out. I mean, granted, it's a bit different from, hey, California's on fire and you're in an evacuation zone or not, but like the only people that you're really gonna panic probably is the people in the building, people near the building, and that's about it. You'll know very quickly if the radiation leak is, in a 3-mile radius or not, I imagine. So, and of course, you don't want people to panic of like, oh no, nuclear attack. But really, no, it was just some asshole who got too much plutonium because he was dumb. All I could do was cry when they left. I had figured out that the Geiger counter worked earlier. I might have been able to save more people. I might have been able to save myself. Oh. Oh, okay. So it was too late. Okay. All right. I'm in pain and sick every day now. There is no cure for radiation poisoning this severe, it seems. The irate neighbor was moved into my room a few days ago, but she was in worse shape than I was. She had been sleeping with her bed pushed up against the wall that had the bomb-making room on the other side. She died yesterday. My teeth are falling out now, and I hope that my death is quick. I can't believe that only a short time ago I was at a birthday party with all my friends. I know that I'm not supposed to talk about this, but I just wanted to tell you all my story in case you can learn anything from it. Buy a Geiger counter. I'll learn how to use it. Maybe someday it might save your life. Oh, okay. Okay. That's quite good. Yeah. No, this works. Radiation is scary. And I found it too late. And it the monster was man's ignorance. And there are consequences. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that is scary. Because radiation poisoning has got to be the worst, if not one of the worst ways to die. And it does leave you with like, some people would walk away from this story and probably buy a Geiger counter. Of, oh shit, what if I really, I mean, of course, again, if there's some brutal ass radiation leak going on this bad, the chances of you getting away from it are like, they're so nil, unless you're going to have a Geiger counter on 24/7 in your house, whatever. But that's a nitpick, and I think this really does work. I'm definitely going to upload this. Feng Shui says, I wish the end was slightly tighter, but it does work overall. Yeah, I mean, like, how do you end that other than radiation poisoning bad and scary? It just is. Damn. Okay. Oh, I'm glad. Good title. Good story. Good job made of the moon. That was cool. All right. I've got one more that I have pre-selected. If someone else has anything that they could probably read, not too long, I'll try to do it. Got other stuff I do have to do today, unfortunately, but let's keep going with this last story. Possibly last story, we'll see. All right. We're still on No Sleep. My local late night news station wasn't normal by Spider Ya. Spider Ja? Ya? 108 upvotes, which is still pretty good for No Sleep. And I like the idea of us watching some fucked up stuff on television. Oh, Beth says about the last story, I really like how she has this guilt over not figuring things out earlier when she couldn't even have ever known. Very good. Yeah. Like it's that is a great source of horror of God, I wish I had. And it's weird because the previous story did that too, but it was I watched them get torn apart and I wish I could have done something, but I didn't because and it's not that that can't be used, but the way it was implemented was very clunky. It's just like, well, you do or don't, shit or get off the pot. And instead we just spent a lot of time about how I'm talking to trees and you need to listen to the trees. Okay. That's a lot less relatable than, hey, radiation's fucking scary, get a Geiger counter. Which taps into a lot of the post Chernobyl and post other nuclear meltdown fears of yesteryear. Of, hey, you have no idea, and it could be too late. Blah. All right. Anyway, my local late night news station wasn't normal. When I was a little kid, I would stay up late and watch TV without my parents realizing. Big mood. This, of course, introduced me to late night TV, something that little me just couldn't get enough of. It seemed so adult. All the programs that would play in the local news station would often play infomercials and recordings of adult conduct at town hall before they would start the morning news at 6 a.m. Wow, when I was up late watching TV, it was Adult Swim, and it was those incredibly inspirational and formative cartoons I should have been watching. But this dude, it's like, nah, we're watching C-SPAN at 5 a.m. To be clear, I don't have a problem with this. I just find it funny. Nothing seemed weird at first. I had been doing it the past couple of weeks, and the older, more mature TV was teaching me lots of new things my parents were, I guess, uncomfortable to teach me, like how to find drugs and prostitutes at 2 a.m. They were shy people, and so my only outlet to learn about adult life was late night TV. I would watch these and learn vividly. It almost became like second school to me. Interesting setup. My parents don't tell me anything. I got to find it for myself. Because guess what, parents? Your kids are going to find this stuff out. Might as well be the ones to kind of try to steer them in the right direction. Then it got weird. The channel would suddenly switch to the local news station without warning and without me touching the dial. Haunted TV. I would get up to switch the channel back to what I was watching, but the channel wouldn't change. I would watch the infographic or whatever else happened to be on for a while until it would let me change the channel. I was young and stupid and thought it was just the TV being weird, so I'd always just shrug it off and move on. It would progressively get worse as the days wore on. No matter how many times I would switch the channel, the TV would go back to the news minutes later. Sometimes even seconds. A jingle in the background of the scheduled programming list, always looping, quickly got stuck in my head. Alright, yeah. Supernatural element, but at least it's, for now, a little constrained to just like TV being weird. TV is haunted. Hey, don't diss those Adult Swim cartoons. Aquatine Hunger Force taught me a lot about the real world. Same, Emily. Same. C-Lab 2021. What else? Harvey Birdman, definitely. Aquatine. Venture Brothers. Metalocalypse. Movies. I could go on. This is going to turn into me being nostalgic. Night after night, I would sneak into the living room and sit mere inches from the screen to keep the noise low and watch the news station. I'd given up on watching anything else and would sit entranced as the infomercials and discussions would quickly sink me into their adult world of numbers and big words. That is a great description. When you're a kid and you're around adults in conversations or watching adults, not adult as in like porn or whatever, but just adult things. It's numbers and jargon that you're not familiar with. That's a great way of describing it. I would pull up the scheduled program listing off it would pull up the scheduled program listing off what the viewer would be watching that night, always ending up back at 6 a.m. with the morning news. There was almost always an infomercial that would last about an hour, and then a recording of some of the events from Town Hall, and then some kind of special event, like a talk on faith or culture. Always very patriotic, of course. Nothing wrong with this so far, really. It wasn't until after a few weeks of watching the late night news channel that it got even weirder. One day at around 4 a.m., the scheduled programming list pulled up, along with the same jingle that was ingrained in my head. Oh, I think comma splice there threw me off. It was all normal. 2 a.m. was a recording of some happenings in town hall. 4 a.m. was a talk on television and its effects on the youth. Nice. 5 a.m. was paid programming, and then the morning news at 6. It was progressing fine when all of a sudden the music stopped and the screen started to glitch. We're going into haunted television mode. You are correct, David. We are now living in the year of C-Lab. We're living in the year... So we should have had C-Lab, and now this is the year that they all go insane. And I'm very disappointed that I can't just go down to C-Lab. Static slowly built up, and the TV screen started moving up and down like a broken projector. I looked away, the noise and visuals scaring me, until the music started again. I was surprised to find that there was now a section called Children's TV, where the talk on television had previously been. Kind of getting 1999 vibes. Channel Zero a little bit. Not the crappy anthology series. It began to play, starting with a zoom in on a carnival, showing children laughing and playing, but the sounds were distorted and their laughing sounded like a low, warbled screech. The television screen suddenly cut in and out, and a cartoon was starting, with the audio back to normal. I watched as a hunter tried to catch a deer, getting outsmarted at every turn. I watched him set a bear trap for the deer. A bear trap for the deer? That's overkill. But the deer lured him into it, and his leg was caught in the trap. But instead of yowling and then getting angry and trying again like any other cartoon, this man screamed and cried in pain. He let horrifying, agonizing, painful cries. He made? I don't know. And the deer ran away. Okay, so now we're getting into very kind of classic creepypasta territory of cartoon, but real, hyper-realistic cartoon, which... is easy to overdo. I'll put it that way. It works, definitely in younger audiences, this works. This kind of shock value. And that might be where this goes, which, okay, fine. I think what's more effective is making things that are just slightly off. Like unedited footage of a bear type of stuff, Allen tutorial. If you just go ham, then it becomes a bit silly. But because this is a great framing, kid up at night watching adult things, unmonitored, and who knows what he'll see. Who knows what they'll happen across. And you can do a lot with that. I just, we might be losing our restraint here. He fell to the ground, and I watched as blood began to pour from his wound, and I couldn't tear my eyes away from the screen. Even when he was slowly picked at by birds, even as he nearly froze to death at night, even when he soon died of dehydration and the elements, all this showed to little me in the form of transitions. The man was reduced to bones, and then flowers began to grow, fertilized by his body. It's a metaphor for... its nature. They were large and beautiful, and the deer came back, and it laughed and laughed. As it laughed, I'm dying to the elements, and all you can do is laugh, Mr. Deer. As it laughed, the screen grew fuzzier, and the sound rose in pitch until it was just a single high-pitched note. Yeah, we're overdoing it now. Finally, the cartoon ended, and the jingle came back, and the rest of the night went as programmed, but the news station was never the same. I kind of hope we don't get an explanation as to why this was all fucked up. How long before we get a timestamp? Because I'm actually very, very surprised we haven't had one. We do have like at 4 a.m. blank, at 2 a.m. blank, but that was couched in it's a programming schedule. That makes sense. It would suddenly distort and play loud screeching sounds like metal scraping metal. It would always scare me. There was never a warning as to when it would happen, and the screen would seem to melt as the sounds distorted. Then it would be normal again, like nothing had happened. I don't know if it's good or bad that the kid is continuing to watch. Because, yeah, you see stuff you shouldn't, and you kind of keep watching. But Sometimes that turns you off because it scares you too much. So I don't know if it's fair for me to criticize that. Oh no. I was obviously scared, almost to the point of giving up on my midnight escapades. Oh, there we go, to learn. But my curiosity of the world above mine, the adult world, had already sunk its claws into me. And I feel like that was set up and it is paid off. I think we do have justification for this. They're really interested in what the adult world is, and yeah, okay. Okay. There was no turning back. Night after, well, there is. Night after night, I would sit through the shrill screams and melted screens to see more. Shrill Screams and Melted Screens is going to be my next album. My sleeping schedule became so bad that my parents got me a doctor, thinking all the symptoms of having no sleep were due to an illness. It's also kind of weird that you're basically just not sleeping. Maybe, every other day or something, only when you could sneak it when your parents weren't up. I don't know. This did not stop me. The distortions became worse and they lasted for longer. Maybe you're just sleep deprived, dude. The bodies of the people in the commercials and in the town hall recordings and the talks would all become dismembered, and their voices would all sink to incredibly low pitches. This combined with the high-pitched shrieks led to a symphony of hellish cries and devilish murmurs. Okay. Every night the jingle would torment me, but I couldn't stop myself. Then one night the news station was no longer available. It had stopped broadcasting. My life quickly got back on track. I slept better and my grades to school improved. My health was also improving, very slowly, but enough to get me off any medicine I was previously on. My life was, good. Okay. Seemingly started for no reason, ends for no reason. That's okay. I think my biggest problem with this is just the over-reliance on hyper-realistic blood deer trap from a bear trap. I lay in my bed one night, about to fall asleep, when I heard it, the jingle. I creeped into the living room and the TV was on to full static screen, but the jingle was playing on loop, never stopping, never ending, always playing. That jingle. I watched, entranced, as images would slowly emerge from the static and a monotone voice instructed me. I grabbed a knife. I grabbed tape. I grabbed a hot pocket, and I listened as the voice told me what to do. Oh no. Oh no, don't do this. Oh boy. The voice was right. I should listen to it. The voice was calming. The voice was right. The voice was smart. The voice was right. The voice sounded like flowers. The voice was right. Suddenly a loud distortion played on the TV. The breaking up of frequencies interrupted the voice. The calming voice was gone. The monotonous voice. What was it? We were fine with just a fucked up TV station. I feel like this is aping off of where bad kids go, but not achieving the same horror in that. All right. I heard a gasp and turned to see my parents trembling in the doorway. I quickly dropped the items in my hands and began to cry. Why had the voice said that? The voice was so kind sounding. How could it ask me to kill them, to kill me? My life was never the same after that. Countless therapists, all of them telling me to channel the voice of flowers, none of it was real. That it was all in my head, that I was sick, they gave me medicine, and that suppressed my emotions. I was a shell. My parents died, they were old, and it was the nature of things, but it hurt worse than the night in the living room. They died? As you got older, or they just died? When the jingle came on and the voice had talked to me, the kind and calming voice, I can't find any evidence to this day of that channel existing, and it's become my sole purpose in life to find a channel, to find out who broadcast it and why they did it. Yeah, very 1999. And why yesterday they had played the jingle on my TV. There's a good story in here, and it kind of shit the bed. We didn't need hypnosis. We really didn't. I wouldn't even mind a part of it being, kill your parents, Billy. And kind of played for laughs, but also kind of played half serious of, okay, whoever's doing this is a sick individual and I should stop watching this. I got in trouble for it. I got caught. It goes over the top in a way that it really didn't need to. Oh boy. All right, yeah, I want to upvote this. You know what? I will, because I like at least the premise. But man, I just wish it had more restraint. Happy Happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Yeah, no, Beth, you're right. If you're gonna go silly, you gotta own it. If you're gonna go subtle, you gotta stay subtle. Hmm. Mm-mm-mm. I don't know. A little disappointing. But you know what? Compared to other streams I've done, this is. Let's see. We had Hi John, It's Me, which a little bit of a letdown. Then we had the Mangrove Story, which I liked. Not perfect, but I actually liked it a lot. Then we had I Teach the Trees to Talk, which, man, just I don't understand where it was going. Wasn't badly written as far as like typos and grammar and all that, but it just like I don't get the framework. Then we bought the Geiger counter, that was great, and then we had this one. So it was kind of alternating on and off, but overall the level of quality is a lot higher than what I've done in past streams. Raccoon says, I am just now after the fact getting some sinister vibes. Oh, like the movie. Oh god. Yes. Similar in that Sinister is one half good movie, one half terrible bullshit. And I've said this many a time, but I never get tired of saying it. The story about a true crime author watching really fucked up 8mm footage and being driven deeper and deeper into alcoholism is great. I still love how fucked up those visuals were. And then the other half of the movie is Bagul. And you're just like, why? Why is this in here? This didn't need to be in here. And I think you can apply that to the story that we just read, and you have cool, messed up stuff that a kid should not be watching. And then it hypnotizes him to kill his parents. Not to my liking, let me say that. Okay. Well, we have been streaming for over 2 hours. I think I got one more in me, and then my voice is going to go, and I have to go do tax bullshit early. I want to get it done early. I don't want to do it in freaking April. So let's search around for something else. And if anyone sees anything, tell me. Put it in the chat. I know you can't link it, but just give me a title and where I can find it, and I could probably find it that way. All right, let's see here. I'm gonna go back to creepypasta subreddit. Alternatively, commit tax fraud. Yeah, no, I ain't doing that. I do not need the IRS on me. Alan says, I'll never get over Bagul just being a hilarious thing to say phonetically. Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing. Might as well just call it the boogeyman. It's just the boogeyman. Like, fucking hell. So dumb. It's hard to make fun of it past what it already is. Oh, I'm not going to read this, but it does say the Memoirs of the Burning House of Memories. Tautology. I might be using tautology wrong. Oh. You know what? I kind of want to end on some ridiculousness. Like the Candlestick Man. Or what was it? I forgot. The Lantern Man? I read it forever ago. But I want something. I want some garbage. Can someone hunt me down some garbage? I never watched the Bye Bye Man Sleepy Coffee. And I don't need to because I saw the Slender Man movie. Oh boy. The story of the missing girl. This did not actually happen. As far as I know, the story is fictional. Thanks for letting us know. This one's just called the Pokemon creature. That could be bad. Sorry, when I'm saying bad, I mean enjoyable garbage. Okay. Is this too long? Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll do a couple. A couple just short, hilarious ones. This is called... Oh, you know what? Sorry, I gotta do the thing. Bear with me, please. All right, this is called The Mail Stealer. Parentheses, my first ever story by Muffin But Turkish, or as I like to call it, Turkish Butt Muffin. I'm a fucking child. No one should be watching me. That is the most 10-year-old thing I could say. Turkish butt muffin, more like. All right. The Mail Stealer. Since I was born, my father and mother tried their best to keep me away from the internet and technology, but ironically, I was such an internet addict, and it was beyond them being able to stop me. That is clunkily said, but it is 100% true. I would spend hours on social media platforms taking selfies, messaging my friends, and playing games until that night when everything changed. In July 2015, I was on my phone chatting with my friends, and one of them invited me to a party sort of thing. A party sort of thing. Is it a party or not? It could just be you're hanging out with people, but that's all right. Is it a kickback? Like, just party sort of thing? There's a weird way to say it. And I said I need to mail my name and contact info to the event planner. Interesting. I instantly jumped to the idea and asked for the email of the event planner. She gave me the mail, and I mailed all the info. Wait, oh. Sorry, this was a block paragraph, by the way. In July 2015, I was on my phone chatting with my friends, and one of them invited me to a party sort of thing and said I need to mail my name and contact info to the event planner. Mail, as in snail mail, not email. I instantly jumped to the idea and asked for the email of the event planner. She gave me the mail, and I mailed all the info needed. You're mixing them up. And we started off with, I'm not supposed to have the internet, so shouldn't that be, I mailed it the regular way because I had to avoid my parents. I don't know. 2 days passed, and my friend texted me, last day to give your info to the planner, Emily. Yeah, Emily. After that moment, I knew something wasn't right. I told her that I already did that, but she said that the event planner didn't receive my email. Okay, which one is it? I checked my mail, and it was... Okay, like your mail is in your inbox. Just, oh my gosh. I checked my mail, and it wasn't there. And it was there... I checked my mail, and it was there. It was saying sent email, but the planner did not get it. Did you do require read receipt? Something was wrong, but I didn't care that much at the time. I texted my friend that the info, and she texted the info to the planner. And finally, when the day came, I met up with my friend, and we went to the party. Everything was great, but then I saw someone weird wearing a mask. When was this written? Everyone should be wearing masks. 8 hours ago. It doesn't... Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, no. July 2015. Okay. Yeah, that's me being dumb. The mask had no mouth or ears. Oh my god, Slender. It's Slender Man! It only had 2 eye holes, and a guy was staring me down. I was kind of scared, but I didn't tell anyone. After I split with my friend, I saw a note on my doorstep. Do you think the mail not getting sent was a coincidence? I stole your mail. Get wrecked. The paper had blood and ink drips on it. I was terrified. I instantly dropped the paper and called my parents, but they did not answer. I tried to call the police, but my phone had no reception. Then my phone vibrated, and I saw there was a new message. It was from a private number, and it said, do you think you can avoid me that easily? This is great. I love it. I started shaking, and I blacked out for a second. When I woke up, I was still where I blacked out, but it was dark out, and the guy with the mask was right in front of me, and he was holding a knife. I screamed and begged for him to leave me alone. He looked at me and then said, "Until next time," and walked away. This guy's a fucking asshole. This is great. Oh man, I ran to my friend's house, but when I got to her door, nobody answered the door. I had nowhere to go. Literally nowhere. There were no other buildings anywhere. And I was too scared to go to my own house. So I ended up going to the police station in town. I had nowhere to go except for the police station. Luckily, there were police. Luckily, there were policies there. I think they meant to say, luckily, there were police people or policemen there, or just police. Police is already plural, but it's policies. Thank God the policies were there to protect us. There, and I explained everything. They didn't look like they believed me, but they were nice, and they let me stay there for the night in lockup and said they would search my house and call my parents. While I was waiting, I thought of sending another mail, not email, a mail, just to prove that the masked guy was real. I sent a mail to one of the police's, goddamn, and showed them that it was sent. This might not be English as the first language. I could be wrong. The mail did get sent to the police, and that made me more suspicious until something horrifying happened. I received an email from the account of the police I sent. It was a photo, and when I opened it, I instantly dropped the phone. One of the polices looked at my phone while the others were trying to calm me down. When the police saw it's proper there. He was shocked, but he tried to keep his temper and said, "Are these your parents?" I said yes while crying uncontrollably. He said, "Oh my God," as he put the phone down. I want to see this acted out. And then I saw him at the door of the police station. I screamed and the police saw the guy. They instantly reached their guns and pointed at the masked guy and said, "Freeze," but the man didn't seem to care and continued walking towards them. He reached his knife, which was covered in blood now. When the police saw the knife, they got me behind them and opened fire. The man was shot 5 times, and he was on the ground looking dead. Not dead, just looking it. One of the police got down and took the knife and put it on the table. Then all the polices and I received a message. This isn't over. After that day, I have been living with one of the polices and his family. Now I'm a police. My parents were found dead in our basement, and my friend was never found again. It has been 3 years, and I still have nightmares about the masked man and his last message to me. I never use social media ever again, and I hope that the masked guy forgot about me and never tried to attack me again. Story over. Oh, it felt good. Oh, that's exactly what I wanted. This is a troll pasta, no. If it is, it's not tagged correctly, but no, I don't think it is paprika. It does say my first ever story, so I do want to remind the author, if for whatever reason they listen to this, I am not harping on you. Writing is difficult. Your first stories are usually like they're rough. Same went for me, but I enjoyed it. Like I don't want you to think that I'm like doing this at your expense. I really liked this. It was fun. You know, like we've all written silly shit. And I do think it's silly, but like keep writing. Like, you know, just keep writing, please. I really enjoyed it. Alan says, I never use social media ever again. Anyway, enjoy this Reddit post. Exactly. Oh boy. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna find one more. Do we want to do the Pokemon creature? Eh. Oh, hello, what is this? Oh, okay, this is a single block paragraph. It's called The Barbie doll in the basement. The Barbie doll in the basement by Eat Noodles. That's not a username, that's an order. Eat Noodles, everybody. On January 2nd, 2014, a man in his 70s italicized for some reason, reported hearing loud noises from outside his house. The man lived several miles away from civilization. Moments later, the power went out. He figured something was scratching up against the fuse box, so he went out to investigate. He claimed that the fuse box had been completely ripped out of the wall, and after further investigation on our end, this was true. Oh, so you were an investigator? Okay. The man was confused as to no animals where he lived were capable of such force. The basement bulkhead was also open. Basement bulkhead capitalized. He claims to rarely ever open it and said there was a lock on it that night. He claimed the lock had been ripped off, however, no evidence of a lock existing was... There was a lock and it was ripped off, but there's no evidence of a lock. Well, because it was gone? Or there was nothing to lock? I don't know what that means. The man finds an odd pattern of scratch marks. Investigators have identified these as basic tool markings, but the man claimed differently. He also claimed to have seen plastic markings as if something was made out of solid plastic, was scraped across the floor. Okay. The man immediately picked up the landline and dialed the county sheriff's office. The sheriff sent one italicized cruiser with 2 officers. When the officers arrived, the man was instructed to remain near the cruisers until they had cleared the area of hostile presence. The man allegedly waited 30 minutes, but we question that. After hearing nothing from the officers, he grew too curious to attempt to halt the urge to investigate and head into the basement. Sorry, this is a block paragraph and with run-on sentences. He discovered the heads of the officers hanging from a single chain while their bodies were nowhere to be found. In the blood puddle was a Barbie Mattel 2013 doll. It's important that it's 2013. Yes. Yes. Out of pure shock and almost puking, he ran to the police cruiser and used the radio to call for backup. The dialogue discussed between the respondent... The responder? Respondent's a legal term. And the man is unknown. The sheriff sends a 2-man cruiser to escort the man and the discarded cruiser back. So, hold on. We found 2 dead cops and they're going to send another, 1 car. Upon arrival, the officer tells the man to get into the back. After about 10 minutes of radio chatter from the officer, they proceed to head to the station. What happens from here only gets worse. The man was instructed to the waiting room, and the sheriff sent 2 detectives and 4 officers back to the scene. There we go. The information the detectives had disclosed to us was that the bodies were cut up and stuffed into the hole where the fuse box was. Plastic was identified to be candle wax. It is the candle wax guy. The Barbie doll was not there when the detectives investigated. Wow. That was a scene. That was not a story. I mean, it is a story, but you know what I mean. Damn. Alan, you're probably right. Turkish is in the username, so it's very possible English isn't their first language. Yeah, you're probably right. All right. Well, I think that is a bit all that my voice can take. So thank you, everybody, for showing up. This was super fun. I gotta go be an adult now, and I'm not looking forward to it. Might do this again next week. Might not. Well, I'll try to keep everyone updated. Oh, now I got some comments in. He almost puked, but first he checked the manufacture date on the Barbie. I think this story may have already been deleted as I can't find it. Oh gosh, I hope not. I certainly didn't do that. No, it's here. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fuck up. I forgot to change. This isn't on No Sleep. This is back on the creepypasta subreddit. My bad. Sorry. I'm still getting used to this new setup. It'll be better next time, I swear. Anyway, yep. All right.